So the deprecation of the cookie and mobile device IDs is inevitable. I don't think it's the end of addressable advertising. I think there'll be a shift to identity and permission-based advertising, which is frankly long overdue. I think alongside that, there needs to be different ways to approach things because permission will not always be given. So there is room for contextual to play a role. There is room for different strategies of cohort analysis to play a part. I think the most important thing is it has to be in line with the spirit and intent of privacy regulations and changing consumer sentiment. So it's not the end of the world. There is a role for addressable and identity, but there will be a role for other solutions as part of the future.
So Joshua, you deal with your clients all the time. What are you telling them? What are they asking? And what are some, what are some of the best paths for them to take now in preparation of this new world?
As clients grapple with, the uncertainty that this is all bringing along, the big conversations that we always have is think about what role you can play in the identity space. Do you have a reasonable business in collecting user identity? Mindful that you also have to manage for compliance and opt-outs and all the associated regulatory issues. The other conversation that we have is that for the foreseeable future, solutions will be fragmented. So while you have LiveRamp, Verizon / Yahoo, the Trade Desk and others proposing solutions, there's not a panacea out there. There's not one ultimate solution that's set to win. So you need to be agnostic. You need to be able to be comfortable to work across fragmented solutions and recognize that the best way forward is embracing that uncertainty, acknowledging that that's the way things are going to be for a while and working within that.
Joshua, let me ask you, what about people who are not identifiable? And I'm sure there's quite a lot of them. How do you sort of deal with that? And how do you, make sure that they're getting the advertising that's of value to your marketers? People who are not identified, they don't want to be identified. How does that work?
Look, there's a real risk with all of this that there'll be a large group of individuals who'll be unidentifiable. That's, realistic. Will they be unidentifiable everywhere? That's the big unknown. The things that we talk a lot about is content plays an important role in that world because people will still consume content. So being in places where the content is relevant to that audience or creating content that is relevant to that audience is very important. The other thing that I think, is super important of all of this is the power of commerce. So people can be unidentifiable in a general sense, but if you're doing a transactional relationship, so you're going on to a retail website and buying products and services, you're categorically going to be identifiable because you're not going to withhold your identity from a retailer because you want to receive those products at the end of the day. So you have to give your real name, real email address, and a physical address to receive products. So retail media networks are going to be very important to the future.
And tell us, what is yield optimization mean and why is it important now? And sort of what are some approaches to yield optimization?
Yield optimization is important because it's all about driving performance and the best and most efficient outcome. In terms of how that's going to play out and what's going to be important, I think from a publisher perspective and from an advertiser perspective, it's about ensuring that you're finding and identifying audiences in the most efficient way possible to drive the most optimal yield. So that, again, it's using first-party data where it's available, it's partnering with the right people that have first-party data, or seeking out smart contextual or other solutions as an alternative and backup. So yield optimization, I think, is going to get more complex because you're going to have to look, across multiple sources of data for the most optimal path to the best outcome. But like the previous statements I've given, unfortunately right now, there's not one absolute solution. You need to be a little bit agnostic and play across all of them.
And Joshua, finally, let me ask you about media investment. What's exciting to you? Where is growth? What is changing? Also, the dominance of the walled gardens. Facebook's facing some challenges, as we know. What's happening in terms of the digital investment landscape? particularly potential growth or contraction outside the walled gardens? Where do you see things going?
I still think this is the most exciting time to be in digital advertising. Challenges are also opportunities. So the death of cookies and mobile device IDs means we can reset the way we talk to the public and find audiences. I think, partners, some of the incumbents are having challenges, but that opens the door to a more dynamic marketplace. And you're seeing, I think, more innovation in the past 12 to 18 months than I've seen in a while as people pivot, change, and look for new ways of doing things. And I think the other thing that super excites me is the growth of video and content. I think we'll actually see a return to the days where advertisers and publishers work together to create even better and more compelling content and tell better stories for consumers. And that's exciting.